be using a couple of my copper polishing products. This is a copper jug, and I will be also polishing another item and experimenting with how they work. This is after cleaning it with just vinegar and salt. And you can see that it's already started to oxidize. And that's one reason you need a polish. I think my newest copper cleaner's arrived. Comes with a sponge. So I'll be using two products today to test which ones are better. Peak is my favorite. You can tell by how much I've used it. I have some more on order. And then I'm also using, this is a sponge that's similar to the one that comes with Copperbrill, except there's a scratchy surface on one side. This is the non-scratchy surface. It's a very fine, light foam. And the other product, of course, is the Copperbrill that I just got. And the type of foam that came with it is very similar to the foam sponge I just got. I'm just going to take it with a sponge and rub it in, and then I'll try to buff it and see how that works. Now I'm going to do this in real time so you can see how long it takes for me to scrub. I know it can be boring, but here we go. Well, I can already see that it's really taking off a lot of that oxidation. And that's what the sponge looks like. It's not too bad, really. I'm surprised. What I want to say about this Copperbrill, now that I've used it, is it doesn't have a overpowering or terrible odor. I don't smell ammonia at all like I do with the Peak, which is one thing I really like about it. Okay, here's another section of this pot, and I've applied some Peak paste to the sponge. And same deal. Now it's really common. See how Peak really gets off some of the oxidation. It's really common for it to turn this nasty black color when you use the Peak, and it's kind of worrisome because you think, oh God, did I just ruin it? But in fact, the longer you polish with it, the more that black comes off until it finally just suddenly shines, really super shiny. And you know, as you can see, I'm already actually seeing a shine, even though it's kind of black looking under that shine. Yeah, and then I'll be back and show you the results. So the first thing I wanted to point out is that even though I washed this sponge with soap and water after polishing, yeah, I don't know if that'll come out, but whatever. And that's from, of course, that's from Peak. And then this is from the Copperbrill, and it's not even black. I mean, it was a little bit black when I first started. So I don't know, maybe it's like it doesn't take off as much of the copper. I don't know I don't know why it's that different. But I haven't even washed this with soap and water like I did with the Peak. And probably when I wash it, it'll come out just fine. So this is after washing it with soap and water. It pretty much rinses right out. Now I'll talk about the difference, how it turned out. So this is the Peak side. You can see already it's a lot shinier than the Copperbrill. But I want to find out if I buff it, if that changes at all. Yeah, you can see a little bit of oxidation coming off. But I have to say it's not as shiny, at least not without some buffing. And I will buff this more after I'm done with the video, but this I almost don't even need to think about buffing. It's so shiny. Well, I have buffed both sides. This is shiny. It's hard to, so you can see definitely a shine, but with the Peak, it's a much more crisp, clear shine compared to the Copperbrill. So because the Copperbrill cleans so fast, it really does a wonderful job of cleaning. I do like it for cleaning better than the Peak, but the shining is the crucial step for me, and that's why Peak is superior. You can see that this is still the spot that I did the Peak, but I cleaned the entire pot now with only the Copperbrill. And now I'm going to go over the whole pot with the Peak. Now, if you were to ask me which product I like better after using them, I would have to say it's hard to determine. Probably personal preference. But I do have to say that the Copperbrill is at 14 cents per milliliter, which is pretty expensive. And the Peak is half the price. It's 7 cents per milliliter. It smells strong with ammonia. This is the only real drawback I can see with the Peak. This is very non-irritating smell. I would still use gloves no matter what I use because they are chemicals. But just considering how extra shiny the Peak gets it, and maybe the benefit's worth the smell and the price. Okay, I finished with the Peak, and you can see, especially like along here, is really shiny. There's things that show up now that it's shined quite a bit that didn't show up before, such as the stress lines in the brass from heating and cooling frequently. And you can also kind of see that up along this area here. that there's kind of stress from heating. I originally thought those were from water or wine, like some sellers have said about this object, but and maybe it was, but for whatever family owned this, they used it quite a lot for heating something, whether it was water for tea or coffee, or who knows, spiced wine in the holiday season. Half a year ago. I polished this. Well, I didn't really polish it. I cleaned the patina off of it with just plain vinegar and salt. And you can see most of the patina is back. So this is going to be my experiment. In spot number 1, we have mouthfeel Copperbrill. Mouthfeel is one of the top brands of copper pot manufactories from France, and this is the most expensive of the 3 products I have here. It's 150 milliliters, and it cost me 20 euros. But in its favor, it has a handy dandy sponge, a special sponge container, and spot number 2, we have Wright's Copper Cream, which was a fraction of the cost. It's roughly 250 milliliters, and I paid 5 euros for this. It was $7 in the US. And then last is my favorite product, Peak. By appointment to Her Majesty the Queen. This little insignia here says the Queen of England approves this product, apparently. The Wright's Copper Cream comes with a sponge, but no barrier between, I don't even want to touch that. No barrier between the sponge and the paste. The Peak has no sponge at all. It does not have a screw-off lid, which makes it more difficult to open. You have to get a screwdriver and open it. So first, this is the Copperbrill, the mouthfeel Copperbrill. It does not want to come off, but it is. Okay. So that's the Copperbrill. Okay, now I have the Wright copper cream. It feels and smells pretty much like the Copperbrill. It seems to clean slightly faster. I can actually see some shine coming up with this compared to the Copperbrill. So I can see a slight difference. I don't know if you can in this light. It's relatively comparable. Okay, so now I have the peak, rubbing it on into a shine. I usually like to use one of these other products first before I use peak so that I don't use as much peak. But I'll show you how the peak works alone. Yeah, this piece is not as easy as some of my other copper pieces, but I can already see this super shine coming through here. And it might even do better with a clean cloth. Looks like it needs more than one shine, but I mean, look at some of that shine compared to there. It's dull. Now I'll come back after I wash it with soap and water. Okay. Shiny and dull. So there's a bit of a shine. This is the Wright. This is the Copperbrill. And this is the peak alone. Now, where I use the Wright and the Copperbrill, I'm going to use some peak. Black. That black is the oxidation, and it even comes off after I use these other creams. And all I'm doing right now is smearing it around. So I need to use a clean cloth. So you see the shine just come right up. And now, so here are the two copper items completely polished, and my two favorite products of the three are the Peak and the Wrights. I like to use the Wrights first for cleaning and the Peak for the shine. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching.